What's going on? I'm a day late, but I'm back with another replay from Total War Warhammer 3, playing as the Tomb Kings again, and this time we are matched up against Bretonnia on Death Pass. So when I put my build together, I wanted Settra so that I could deal with some kind of heavily armored cavalry that would probably be one of the biggest threats to my lord. He's got anti-large, he's got armor piercing, got two squads of Ushabti with great bows. I figured they would be good at dealing with the big cavalry models. Nice armored cavalry models, and I brought 5 squads of Tomb Guard with halberds. And so I basically wanted to just form a box around my Ushabti and around Settra with my Tomb Guards. Again, this is the halberd variant, and get onto a point and hold it. So for my opponent, I was expecting a lot of cavalry, but he has got a huge amount of peasants, spear men-at-arms, and shield or sword and shield men-at-arms. So I guess you call these guys like sword and board type troops. He's got Enchantress as his lord. He's got a Grail relic. He's got Blessed Field trebuchets, and he's also got the Green Knight. And that is about it outside of the peasant bowman that he's got as well. So I'm going to fast forward through the approach. And as you see us coming up, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, there are no cavalry right now. And my best targets for my Ushabti are going to be either the Field Trebuchet, Enchantress, or the Green Knight. Now, I was originally going after the Blessed Field Trebuchets, and then I realized that in order to get to range, my Ushabti were going to end up in the front melee because of their range only being 255, and the Blessed Field Trebuchet being 440. So couldn't get quite in range to start off with that. My opponent bringing in the Knights of the Lionhearted, so these are Knights of the Realm. You see they got anti-large and magic attack as well. Green Knight diving past my Tomb Guards, leaves my front Tomb Guards to try to get on top of Settra. Unfortunately, he is ethereal, and I do not have any magic damage out on the field right now. So this squad of Tomb Guards end up turning around because I've got one back here. This is part of the reason I had this box type situation. Unfortunately for me, I was not paying enough attention or thinking enough to bring these Ushabti out of this engagement. Just having him get mobbed by the Tomb Guard halberds. He gets off a nice Dwellers Below. There's a lot of damage to the Ushabti and to a huge amount of damage to the Tomb Guards. Knights of the Realm charging in on the side. Luckily I was able to screen them off of these Ushabti with my Tomb Guard with halberds. Got Nehekar warriors coming in. I figured these guys would be a good response to the amount of infantry that my opponent has. You can see he's got peasant bowmen up on the hillside shooting down into the front line. Pretty good positioning by him. I don't see people get troops up here that often, so it's nice to see that. Just a little bit of a different play by him. He's got spear men-at-arms, standard men-at-arms, and peasant mobs on both flanks, holding points 1 and 3. So he's kind of got an answer for everything. A little bit of meat shield. And luckily for me, I had Sepulchral Stalkers in my back pocket, so I could bring them as a reinforcement and deal with the Green Knight. Now, I'll point out that I did not think about the Green Knight being on their squad of units when I brought the Sepulchral Stalkers. I was more so thinking of these troops as a anti-large armor-piercing unit, but they also have magic damage, so these guys are going to be doing a lot of damage. I don't know why the animation isn't going through for them on this replay, but they're going to be doing a lot of damage to the Green Knight, and you can see he's kind of melting. I was having trouble with him beforehand. He's got a lot of damage on Settra, but luckily the Sepulchral Stalkers helping out. They're doing a ton of damage. The Knights of the Lionhearted, who were chasing after my Ushabti, were chased off due to the big damage coming from my other squad of Ushabti Great Bow. And they got some more Grail Knights coming in. Enchantress is getting into the mix. Peasant Bowman still shooting in. I brought some, Screaming Skull catapults to fire up on the hillside and deal with them. Wanted some catapults to deal with some of their ranged units. And Grail Knights recharging into my Sepulchral Stalkers. I wasn't sure if he was going to try to continue on from here, so I brought in Skeleton Spearmen to sit on top of my catapults just in case. But luckily for me, the mass of the Sepulchral Stalkers is holding these guys up. Got Tomb Guard halberds coming up the rear, along with Settra, and they're going to deal with these Grail Knights. Again, points 1 and 3 still being held by my opponent. Haven't really gotten any pressure on there. Nehekar warriors are in the engagement with the Tomb Guard halberds. Tomb Guard with halberds, I should say. And again, Screaming Skull catapult shooting up at those bowmen. maybe not the best choice, but I did want to deal with them because they were just kind of just getting free roam of shooting downhill. Now, luckily, the Screaming Skull catapults also, my understanding is that they decrease leadership. Yeah, so they have this take cover attribute that decreases leadership by 8. So when you have these peasant type units and these low morale or low leadership cheap infantry from Bretonnia, these catapults can be pretty useful against them. Knights of the Realm getting in the rear charge on the Nehekar warriors, so they're going to be taking a pretty good beating from them. One squad of Tomb Guard sitting back here, just screening off cavalry from the Ushabti with great bows. Really just trying to get shots off on any of their cavalry and on their lord. With the Ushabti, Sepulchral Stalker coming in to shoot at the Fey Enchantress. And the Knights of the Realm are looking to get out of that engagement and move elsewhere. Let's see what we've got. We've got Skeleton Spearmen coming in reinforcements. More Ushabti with great bows back here, shooting in on the Fey Enchantress, and she is taking a lot of damage. She's getting nailed by the Sepulchral Stalkers, by the Ushabti. There's 2 squads of Ushabti, and she is dead and gone. So that's going to be a leadership hit for my opponent. You can see I'm starting to pull ahead by a good bit on the gold value, although my opponent has the lead on the victory tickets. Now, unfortunately for me, Settra kind of got caught out here. I was chasing a squad of troops off the field with him, and that was probably not the best idea to be chasing cavalry off the field with my lord, although he's basically my fastest unit on my roster right now. I believe I have carried in my reinforcements, but and actually, in fact, I know I had carried in my reinforcements. Now, luckily for me, I had my Ushabti summon, which I kind of just like spur of the moment was like, oh shit, I have this, used it to get some mass on top of him and help protect him, and I also cast the incantation of protection to give him some physical resist and hold off this cavalry charge. So now the Ushabti are going to be working with him to deal with the Knights Errant that are now jumping on top of Settra. Meanwhile, point 2 is in the hands of my opponent. I was able to hold it for some time, but they pushed me off. They've dealt away with the majority of my Tomb Guard with halberds. I've got some more Nehekar warriors coming in after they kind of got done chasing after the cavalry and are now looking to get on top of point 2. Skeleton Spearmen here matched up against Spearmen and arms with shields. This is just going to be a slow grind, no one really doing too much damage. Ushabti still trying to shoot at the cavalry. Skeleton Spearmen coming up forward to screen off the defenders of Fleur-de-Lis. These Knights Errant have been taking a lot of shots from Ushabti, as you can see from their health. And again, this damage is coming from Ushabti and Sepulchral Stalkers. My Sepulchral Stalkers are coming this way because I wasn't sure how these battles were going to play out with the Knights Errant and whatnot, so I brought these guys up to support just in case the Ushabti weren't able to hold on with Settra. Luckily, they were able to do the job. And at this point, I'm starting to realize, okay, this guy is halfway to winning, so I need to get out there and I need to start taking points from him. So I got a squad of Carrion. I believe I gave them an attack command either now or shortly to go after these field trebuchets. This thing is about 3rd ammunition, probably getting some pretty good damage. Let's take a quick look. About 900 damage, so not bad. Brought in another Screaming Skull catapult, chasing off the peasant mob just from a few shots, honestly. So pretty good over there. Nehekar warriors on the way, and when I say pretty good, the peasants aren't a valuable unit by any means, but it is getting them off the point, getting some capture rate off the point, and getting some meat shield off the point so that my Nehekar warriors will be able to do some better damage. Now, luckily for me, these are both lightly armored infantry troops, so the Nehekar warriors are specialized for this. Don't really have armor piercing damage, but you can see they've got a good bonus for infantry, so they'll be having 40 attack versus these guys as opposed to just a standard 33, and they'll also have 40 weapon damage against them. Carrion coming in to support. I want to get the Carrion on top of the men-at-arms without the spears, so that's something to keep in mind. That is part of the reason I'm shooting at the spear men-at-arms with my catapult as opposed to the sword guys, because these are going to be the only threat to my my big Carrion. You can see these. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm looking at these are small entity models. I didn't realize that. So lesson learned right there. Watching the replays can help you with stuff like that. That's a little bit of a surprise to me, but I guess they're not that big for, yeah, the unit models are not that big, so I can see why they're classified as small. Maybe the wingspan gives them the appearance of being a large entity, so I probably could have left them in there. I pulled them out because I thought the spears were jumping on top of them, which they were, but I thought they were going to take more damage from that, so that's something I'll have to keep in mind for future games. But luckily for me, these guys are running off the field. The Nehekar Warriors are going to do good against the Men-at-Arms, especially with the support of the carrion, and we'll be taking point 3. Now, point 2 is still in the hands of my opponent. Settra is really worn down. They don't have too much of a cavalry presence over here. The Grail Relic is getting shot at by my Ushabti. Some of these cavalry are looking to peel off and go support on point 3. So I'm going to start shooting at them with my Ushabti. And I've got Tomb Guard Halberds that are looking to get onto point 2 and just get some capture weight. Take that for me. Sepulchral Stalkers going to chase down these Knights of the Realm. This is one of my more mobile units, and I wanted to stop them from taking this back. Now, over here, still have not been able to get any troops on point 1. And if you're not noticing now, this game is just about over. I am going to fast forward through the end because what's happening is my opponent is pretty far along, and I don't have the mobility to compete for all 3 of these points. You can see I took point 2, I took point 3, but for me to get over to point 1 and take that, it's just not going to happen. You'll see my opponent, you know, you can look here, you can look on the mini-map, all their units are starting to swarm over to point 1 because he knows he's in a single cap situation. He just needs to hold on to 1 point. And unfortunately, not able to get over there and take that from my opponent. But it was a fun game. I wish I had caught it at the end, but I was quite far ahead on the gold value. But unfortunately for me, you know, this game is about victory points, and that's part of the fun about playing domination. Is you really got to pay attention to those objectives and not just try to get more kills or more damage dealt than your opponent. There's more strategy or tactics to it than that. So, well played to my opponent. Let's take a quick look at the end game stats. See, Settra did pretty good for how much he cost. I brought him pretty bare bones. He only had 2 spells and only a couple of his abilities. These Ushabti Great Bows did horribly. This was a squad that got wrecked by the Green Knight and by the Dwellers Below. These guys did a lot of work though, you can see. Tomb Guard with Halberds, very mixed results, not great overall. Didn't get my Necropolis Knights on the field. Sepulchral Stalkers pulled a lot of weight. These other Ushabti did pretty decent. These guys didn't even lose any health, and they had accrued to 1,100 basically. Screaming Skull Catapults did alright. Nehekar Warriors didn't do great. Carrion didn't do great. Skeleton Spearmen did what they needed to. They needed to protect the trebuchets. I probably could have used the trebuchets better, but you know, this is part of the good thing about watching replays when I'm doing these casts is I learn stuff about my own playstyle and how I'm utilizing units and whatnot. The carrion thing earlier was a good example of that. Enchantress and Green Knight neither did too much damage. The Green Knight did do a good job of shutting down one of my Ushabti squads, but Enchantress just got assassinated by the Sepulchral Stalkers and the 2 squads of Ushabti once she got in the mix. Blessed Trebuchets didn't do too good. I mean, I guess they did decent. I don't know how much they cost, so I shouldn't assume. They might cost around that amount actually, so pretty good damage dealt overall from them. Peasant Bowmen did good for how much they cost. Nothing special on any of these men-at-arms troops. Peasant mobs, of course, aren't going to do much either. None of the cavalry did a ton either. I'm not seeing anything in the thousands. So again, I had good value trading, but my opponent was just more aware of the objectives, paid better attention, and spread his troops out appropriately. He took advantage of the numbers, and you can see the size of the rosters. You know, he had a lot more units available. So, anyways, thanks for watching. It was a pretty good match, pretty fun, even though I lost, and I'll see you on the next one.